I literally read this in one sitting. I wish I could read it again for the first time. Like, it's gonna make you cry. I feel like he just does them so well. Chef's kiss every single time. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 17. Today's video is going to be very fun because I'm going to be talking about my favorite books and my favorite books only. The setting of this video is completely different. I am at my home. One, I have been very sick for the past few days, so sorry if I also sound a little bit different. Also, I did just have a little bit of a crash out, guys. Look at the way that I'm recording. If you keep seeing me look to the side, it's because the viewfinder on my camera is completely blacked out. My camera, I think, is broken. So we'll see how this works. Vlogmas doesn't stop for anyone. Today I have a lot of books to talk about. I have a total of 10 books that I want to go over with you guys. It's my top 10 books of 2025. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into today's video. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about is actually one that I just recently read and I haven't had the chance to talk about it. So before we go on into like any of the other ones you've probably heard me yap about before, I thought that we should start with something that you probably haven't heard me talk about, which is none other than My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I actually don't own this book yet. I read it on Kindle. I just finished the book. Guys, it lives up to all of the hype. I am always the first person to love a Fredrik Backman book. I love him as an author. I think that the way he writes is so beautiful. It's so deep and profound, but then it can go into being a little bit funny and a little bit silly at times. Basically in this book, you're following this young woman named Louisa. Now she grew up by herself, except for she had one friend named Fish. Now her friend is very obsessed with this one piece of art. Now when her friend passes away, then she goes and she like looks at this piece of art. She actually ends up meeting the artist, the one who made this piece of art. Then it kind of catapults her into the story of how this piece of art came to be. It's a story about grief. It's a story about love. It's a story about like overcoming these very dark times and these very difficult things that people go through. It's kind of just following her life and how her life has changed after her friend passes away. And then you're also following one of the artist's friends because the artist passes away. It's kind of a very big topic of grief, but I love the way Fredrik Backman writes, especially about difficult topics. The entire book was beautifully done. It never bored me once. It was just the most beautiful writing. I think this is genuinely one of my top books of the year. It was so beautifully done. I can't stop talking about it. It is so good. Now the next book that I have to talk about is one that you guys have heard me talk about, okay? Cannot shut up about this. Actually, sew my lips shut, please, because the amount of times that I've talked about this book is diabolical, and I feel kind of bad how many times I bring it up, but it is that good in my mind. Brace yourselves, okay? It is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, Sally Rooney is one of my favorite authors. I know it's controversial, but like, I don't really care. I feel like her writing just hits every single time, and I get a lot of people hate on her. She doesn't use quotation marks, which it does get annoying. I will be the first to say that it does get annoying, but I'll also be the first to say I love her. The thing about her writing is I just feel like it dives so deep. It really makes you have to sit and think. And especially with this book, I have such a soul tie to both of the characters in this book, but especially Connell. I also think that it's funny because Connell is a very hated character. I relate to Connell on such a deep level that I can't even express it. I am Connell in female form. It actually is probably a bad trait and actually probably a red flag. But if you guys don't know what this book is about, basically you're following our two main characters, Marianne and Connell. It is a span of them from like high school to college, and then I believe it even follows them after college. It's just following their relationship and how it kind of weaves in and out and it shifts and changes throughout the years. I guess the way you describe it is like a situationship, but like it's a little bit deeper than that. Like following Marianne and Connell, both of their backstories are very like different. They just grew up different, even though they grew up in the same town and in the same high school. Connell grew up as this very popular, like I believe he was on the football team, like he was just very popular, like that sort of vibe. And Marianne was just quieter and socially awkward, and they kind of had to like hide that they were in a relationship when kind of things changed and they go on to college. They kind of both flip the script. I just think that at the end, especially with Connell's mental health, enough enough said about that. Truly no words can describe my soul tie to how Connell was at the end of this book. I love him so much, and I just have so many things that I underlined like throughout this book. Instead of it being like very dialogue based, even though there is dialogue, I feel like it's very like what the characters are thinking. Like it goes through the characters' thoughts more instead of the characters' dialogue, which I find very interesting. It obviously makes you as a reader also be more like thought-provoked instead of like the characters saying this is this, this is that. You're like, wait, but is this? I literally read this in one sitting. I wish I could read it again for the first time. I wish I would have given it more time. I'm just gonna read this one quote because this really sums up like how much I love Connell and how much I relate to Connell on like such a deeper level. In the beginning of the book, I kind of hated him and I feel like we were made out to hate him. This quote says, "Since then, Connell's mental state has steadily, week after week, continued to deteriorate. His anxiety, which was previously chronic and low level, serving as a kind of all-purpose inhibiting impulse, has become severe. His hands start tingling when he has to perform minor interactions like ordering coffee or answering a question in class. Once or twice, he's had major panic attacks, hyperventilation, chest pain, pins and needles all over his body. A feeling of dissociation from his senses, an inability to think straight or interpret what he sees or hears. Things began to look and sound different, slower, artificial, unreal. The first time it happened, he thought he was losing his mind. The whole cognitive framework by which he made sense of the world had disintegrated for good, and everything from then on would just be undifferentiated sound and color." Like, hello? If you guys read this book and you dislike Connell, I don't blame you, but I love him so much. So enough said about this book. This was also a 5-star read. I have not been able to shut up about it since I read it, so of course this one had to go in this video. The next book I have to talk about I feel like is kind of out of my normal genre, so it's a little bit odd that I like this book as much as I did. If you are trying to get a male into reading, this is the book. Like, that's how I feel about this book. And that book is none other than Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I love this book so much. I honestly didn't think that I would. I did really enjoy it. It felt very similar to like a Hunger Games sort of vibe. So if you guys don't know what this book is about, basically there's like 2 different levels to society, I guess is the way that you would describe this. Are people who work in the mines and they actually don't really like know that this other society exists up top. Like, some of them know, some of them don't, but you don't go up there. The ones who work in the mines are called the Reds, and then the ones up top are called the Golds. Now the Golds just get to live off of everything that the Reds do. Like, the Reds are the ones running the society, but the Golds are like the ones who get to reap the benefit. Now the whole point of this book is basically to overthrow this entire government. Now it's very interesting because in the beginning, EO is like on the whole opposite side of it. Like, let's just leave it how it is. Like, I don't need things to change. I feel like the reason I like this book so much is because in the beginning there was a very hard topic of grief, like immediately right off the bat, which just makes you like automatically get attached to your main character. I don't want to spoil a lot of this book, but it reminded me a lot of like Divergent and Hunger Games. Like, those were the vibes I was getting the whole time I was reading this. It was really interesting because this literally takes place on Mars. I was like, whoa. And even if you don't think that you would like this style of book or don't think you would like this genre, I urge you to at least try it out because it was really good. I normally don't like stray from what I know. This was too good. Okay guys, the next book that I'm going to talk about, I actually am going to go pretty quick through because you guys have heard me talk about this. I don't know, the past few sit down videos I've honestly put this book in it because I just want any reason to talk about it. I'm so sorry, and I'm gonna do it again. Another one, thank you. This next book that I really adore is called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Matt Haig has become one of my new favorite authors. Basically, if you don't know what this book is about, let me give you a quick little synopsis because like I feel like it's a really heavy topic. You can't go into it blind. I went into it blind. It destroyed me as a person. Like, I don't want to do that to you guys. Basically, you are following our main character, Nora. In the beginning of this book, she tries to kill herself. Instead of like going to the afterlife, she ends up in this place called the Midnight Library. The whole point of the Midnight Library is they pick people who haven't really like lived life. And the whole point of the Midnight Library is to try out a bunch of different lives. So that's kind of what Nora is doing in this book. Some of the lives are like so left field and so like funny. It makes this book a little bit lighter. This is a very heavy book, but then when you're actually reading it, you're like, wait, throughout each of the lives, Nora learned something, and then she was like, I actually don't think I want to be in this life, even though like some of the lives were great. And then the ending of this book, oh my gosh, like tugs at your heartstrings. I really love this book. I don't want to talk about it for too long because obviously I've talked about this like far too many times, but if you are looking for a like hopeful type of book but also a tearjerker, You cannot go wrong with this one at all. I feel like I never really get the chance to talk about this book, and it truly did change like my entire life's perspective. It is a book called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. I feel like this book is bordering on self-helpy. The whole idea of the book is that you're following a therapist, and you're following like not only the therapist's life, but the lives of her different patients. And it's kind of interesting because you're not only following her problems, you're also following the problems of her patients. The thing that really intrigued me about this book was the writing. If you guys can tell a common theme, I don't even really care about the plot half the time. The writing is what really gets me every single time. The way the book is written, like I said, like bordering on self-helpy. So like you will follow the patient, and then it'll go into kind of being like, this is how you should think about things. So it really feels like you're in therapy. I feel like it's very cool too, because like I didn't even fully relate to each of like individuals. I didn't really relate to their lives really at all. There were bits and pieces of it that really struck a chord with me. There are a lot of quotes that I could probably share from this book. I'm not gonna bore you guys, so I'm not gonna do that. I really think that you guys should go read this book. Like, even if you don't really like self-help books, because I honestly don't. Most of the time when I'm reading a book, I'm reading it for escapism. I'm not reading it to like understand parts of myself. I don't want that. With this book in specific, I think that it honestly helped me a lot. It helped me see things a lot differently. I will never shut up about it because it is so good. The next book we have, yet another one that I have talked about. The next book that we're going to talk about is A Little Life. I talk about this way too much, but I'm going to go quick through this one too because I feel like you guys already know what this book is about, honestly. If you are on the side of the internet that has to do with books, which I would hope so because you found your way here, probably heard about this book, honestly. Now this follows 4 friends. They live in New York City. You're kind of just following the way their relationships like have highs and lows. You're also just following these 4 people's lives. The main character, the one we're following the most, is Jude. Like a guttural reaction when I hear the name Jude. The storyline of Jude is so sad, and it genuinely, like, I feel like maternal towards Jude. Jude and Willem, can we just take a minute for them? Can we just take a minute? I love them. I will never ever stop loving them. You're not only following like the good parts, you're also following like really bad parts, and actually you're pretty much only following really bad parts. And I know like the whole big thing on the internet about this book is like it's gonna make you cry. Listen to me right now, look me in the eyes, it's going to make you cry. I thought that I was stronger. I'm gonna cry if I read this quote, but I kind of have to. It says, "But now he knows for certain how true the axiom is, because he himself, his very life, has proven it. The person I was will always be the person I am," he realizes. "The context may have changed. He may be in this apartment, and he may have a job that he enjoys and that pays him well, and he may have parents and friends he loves. He may be respected in court. He may even be feared. But fundamentally, he is the same person, a person who inspires disgust, a person meant to be hated." Oh my god. In that microsecond that he finds himself suspended in the air between the ecstasy of being aloft and the anticipation of his landing, which he knows will be terrible, he knows that X will always equal X. No matter what he does or how many years he moves away from the monastery, from Brother Luke, no matter how much he earns or how hard he tries to forget, it is the last thing he thinks as his shoulder cracks down upon the concrete and the world for an instant jerks blessedly away from beneath him. X equals X, he thinks. Are you kidding me? The next book we have is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I don't know if you guys watched the vlog where I read this book in, but I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. Obviously, a Catherine Center book. Like, at my core, I was like, yes, I am gonna like this book, but I did not expect it to be like 5 stars, top tier, one of the best books that I've read this year. The whole plot of this book is that you are following this girl. She actually ends up developing facial blindness, like in the beginning of this book. So you're kind of just following her on her path of like losing herself. Then she ends up finding herself again. The reason that she loses so much of herself because of this facial blindness is, one, she's struggling with grief. She actually lost her mom to the same disease that she ends up developing, but also because she is a portrait artist. Like, she draws faces for a living. She's kind of at odds now because she can't do that anymore. You see her kind of go a little bit like crazy, like trying to find some sort of hope to cling on to throughout this book. And I feel like the way that this book is talked about most of the time is as like a rom-com, and yes, like it is a rom-com. I don't know, I just feel like the way that you're following her, like you're watching her go through all of this, and the only thing people love to say about this book is that it's a rom-com. I'm like, guys, it's so much more than that. I just feel like also the way Catherine Center writes is so sweet. I don't know what it is about Catherine Center's writing because it doesn't get like super deep, so I don't want to say that, but the way the romance was written about too was just so interesting because obviously our character has facial blindness, so she doesn't even really know who she's falling in love with. If you want a rom-com that has like a a little bit more to it than just like romance, this is definitely the book for you. So fun and so entertaining, but also kind of heartbreaking at the same time, which I did not expect because look how cute the cover is. Like, okay everyone, with all that being said, that brings us to the end of today's video. My camera's actually broken, so if I look like I'm like looking off to the side or things like that, that's probably why. Also, we are cutting this video short. I did have a few other books to talk about, but like I said, my camera is just so messed up right now, so I'm gonna try to go fix that. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this gave you guys some good book recommendation. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.